John Reidelbach's been our county commissioner from the 4th District since 2020, and he has been a whirlwind of energy. I tell you, on a 5-member board, one guy who does his research and knows what he's talking about can make a world of difference, and we are so thankful to have him here today to talk with us about this property tax issue, which has brought some issues to our minds, to say the least, and for him to take your questions and help us all figure out the best thing we can do as individuals and as a group. So we're so thankful to have the chairman of our county commission, Commissioner John Reidelbach, speak to us today. Thank you. Thank you. I'll pass it.
Hello, and thanks for having me. I've heard a lot of good talking here today, but the one thing I want to emphasize, all these changes and suggestions that Brent and Jim and Mr. Babbitt back here have brought to you, I'm telling you, it starts at local government level. We can make a difference, and I talked to Maxwell just a little while ago about school taxes and stuff like that. Now, we have no control as a Board of Commissioners on school tax. Nothing at all, no millage rates, no budget approval, nothing. But if you remember, a couple of years ago, Representative Bonner was able to enact through legislation at the Capitol where they fixed a school board tax issue over in Fayette County, and I think it was they cap it. I guess they can only cap the assessed value of your house now. It's either market or it's set at a certain rate. He did that through local legislation. So I implore you, talk with Matt Brass, talk with Representative Smith, Jenkins, Bonner, Lydia Glaze, and the new one at Thompson. Get your local legislation involved about what you want to happen in your county, because they can slip through things on a tag end of a bill. So that's one thing I want to say. So that brings up the tax issue. So the assessments went out. So obviously my phone's been blown up like every other commissioner. But the one thing I want you guys to understand is we as commissioners have nothing to do with the assessed value of your home. The state drives how that assessments are done. It's done through a tax digest, and what they do is they send you out I call it a warning letter. Basically, this is what your tax could be based on the value of your home. Everybody thinks their tax bills, well, they're not. But in my line, I would just tell you, you have 5 months to start preparing to pay that bill. So that's the way I look at it. But anyway, the tax digest hasn't even been finalized yet for the county. So those are just estimates that you guys have. I know that I think last year's tax digest was right at $6.4 billion for the county, and I think it went up, it's supposedly going up 6%, so that's going to take it up to almost $7 billion. A lot of that is, there's a small percentage of that that's new growth, and then the rest is just basically values. And let's face it, people want to move to Coweta County, so it's driving the price of homes, it's driving the price of your property. So I will tell you, does everybody in here know how to do an appeal? Okay, so if you go, write this down. If you go to Q Public Coweta, do a Google search, Q Public Coweta, it'll pull up a page where you can go over and search for your property by your name or your address. It'll bring up that assessment, and on the right side of that page, it will have a file an appeal. You follow the instructions. Just click it, and it'll take you through an electronic appeal process. But I'm telling you, you can't just tell the assessor, hey, I can't sell my house for this. That's illogical. They're going to sit there and just go right over it. You have to use facts. So dig in, look at the facts, look at your neighbors around the area, how much the properties went up, and file an appeal that makes logical sense. And that's the first step I would tell you. So I want to talk to you about a little bit about SPLOST too. I think you guys have. So this is a critical year for the Coweta County. So I don't know about you guys, but I think the average, the average based on the AEI.org, average price of a home in the Atlanta MSA, which we're part of, from 2019 to 2022 has increased 40%. 40% in two and a half years. So anyway, so we all are feeling the effects of that. So everybody's tax bill, I won't say everybody, but probably the majority of us, our tax bills are going to go up in December when we have to pay them. But there's another critical thing that's coming along the line, and that's called SPLOST. Everybody knows what SPLOST is. All right, that's been in this county since 1986. We've been paying that extra penny since 1986, but we're only paying 30% of it. People that come into the county pay the other 70%. And that's a very critical thing, because our projected SPLOST revenues for this next cycle will be $250 million over 6 years. That would take, if you looked at current millage rates today, if we didn't have SPLOST, instead of 0.0528, our millage rate would be at 0.076. So that's 2.5 points. That's about $467 on an assessed home at $400,000. So the thing is, 70% of that is paid for by people outside the county. And there's an interesting statistic on there that I put on that page there, is I just researched the average Costco and the average Sam's Club, what their annual revenues are. It's $425 million. That's $4.25 million to the county, of which 70% comes from outside. So $3 million or 21 or almost $20 million comes from outside the county. Now, the thing to keep in mind, and I want you, in the general fund, the M&O fund, there is no attributable dollars that go to road improvements, road maintenance, so that's about $100 million over a 6-year period that goes into road improvements. So if we didn't have the ability of having SPLOST, then that would be coming out of general funds. So again, property taxes go up. So anyway, I think I did a small video, a PSA, if you will, that kind of highlights what the SPLOST dollars are used for. And I think, Jan, I think we can share that. Just to give you an idea, because it's a very critical tax. On June 20th of 2023, we had a Board of Commissioners meeting, which the SPLOST proposed budget was presented to us. It's approximately $160 million in funds that will come to the county. And again, these funds, 70% of them are funded by people outside the county of Coweta. So it's real important to us because it helps us to improve on our capital projects that have been identified. This 2025 proposed budget will be including fire rescue, parks and recreation, sheriff's office, and the public works and transportation. The biggest component of this SPLOST money is public works and transportation, because the majority of this will be used for road maintenance, equipment, bridges and culverts, intersections, and things of that nature. So SPLOST is a very important element of capital project improvements in the county of Coweta. And I would implore you to do more research so you understand this and you're educated on just how SPLOST is generated, what do we use it for, and I implore you to do the research. Reach out to your local commissioner, or feel free to email administration to get more information on this SPLOST tax. So it's just a little short thing that, I mean, it'll be on social media that you can share it, but it's important to understand this element because, again, without SPLOST, does everybody know local option sales tax? It's called LOST. That was a state enacted local option sales tax that gets approved every 10 years, but is done between municipalities and counties. Mayor Granville, we went through that just not too long ago. But that actually is a tool that reduces your millage rate. And it's like 2.9 mills. Am I correct? So LOST, which is a state-driven thing, it reduces your mills by 2.9. So you can get an idea of SPLOST would be somewhere in that same ballpark. So without those two tools, we'd be paying another 6% in millage rate. So your mills would be up somewhere around 12. So I would tell you, and if you want to look at Coweta's tax rate, and I also have a place in Hancock County, and my millage rate down there is 17 mills. It's higher than the school tax here, so it's huge. But anyway, so as far as the assessments go, no control. We don't control any of that. We haven't gotten through the budget yet, so we don't know if we're going to roll back, if we're going to stay the same or whatever. But in any case, everybody knows how rollback works, millage rate rollbacks. So a millage rate, right now, our millage for the county M&O it's 0.00528. The school board is 0.016. So if they roll back nothing, your tax bill will go up because the value of your homes went up. So they'll have to have 3 public hearings at both the school board and at the county commissioner meetings that a public meeting that you guys can come in and voice your concerns about that. But so be on the lookout for that when we kind of get through that. So